Well, good morning, guys, and welcome to the news. Oh my gosh, have we got a action-packed, fun and excitement show for you today. Woo, man.
Exactly.
It's off the chain, filled with 12-volt news. Man, I don't know if we're going to be able to contain it in a half hour. But before we do that, let's head back over and check out the weather. Well, Mr. Fernando, weatherman Fernando, as it were, what is the weather going to be like today in sunny Florida?
Today is gonna be, it is 81 degrees,
Currently.
sunny, hot, super hot.
What's the low and the high expected today?
75
Is the low,
is the low,
which it'll never reach. And what is the high?
right. 86.
Really?
Yeah.
With 100% humidity and 30% chance of
That
rain.
is 100% correct. Yes.
But let me tell you what, 93 in South Carolina is definitely going to feel better than 86 in Florida.
So
tell
grab
you
your
that right
umbrellas, because it's gonna be already sunny.
So how can I not go to KnowledgeFest since I'm not at a shop now?
How can I go? Maybe you can talk to one of the manufacturers you rep.
Well,
before.
okay. Not to talk about KnowledgeFest, but if you're currently unemployed but were previously employed by a car stereo company and you're still in the industry and hoping to be re-employed by a car stereo company,
Yeah.
there is an opportunity for you to go to KnowledgeFest, but you have to have been you have to be in industry, meaning your previous employer. You have to have a history, meaning, you know, up until a week ago or a month ago, I was employed by XYZ Car Stereo. Currently, I'm looking for a job because you can use it as a resource to get another job. There's plenty of people that come to KnowledgeFest in hopes of finding new employment or better employment, as it were. But you do still have to be in industry. That's really what it comes down to.
So now that you talk about it, it's a really good segue about KnowledgeFest. You know, if you guys are in the industry, KnowledgeFest Dallas is coming. So
Back to our art for a second, though. If you're working in the automotive field, there again, you know, there is still a certain amount of people that have transitioned out of the audio side of things and have moved into like GPS tracking and stuff like that. It's still technically considered 12-volt industry. There is one gentleman there that's all he does is GPS tracking. So that's something to consider. All right. Hi-Fi Vega found the one loophole where he is being brought by a manufacturer. He's been invited by a manufacturer. Market Cardio Fabricator did that. He was invited by his sponsor. So finding a manufacturer, a sponsor that you're planning on doing something with while you're there is something, but you're solely responsible. They're responsible for you. When Steve Mead came, he came with Tony D'Amore because of SMD. So the whole SMD line of products was there. So he was actually considered a manufacturer when he came. So, you know, there's the reality is it's not open to consumers, mainly because it's a trade show, and most trade shows aren't open to consumers. You know, you're not going to the air conditioning trade show. No one wants to do that.
that would be cool.
You know, CES, the Consumer Electronics Trade Show, is not open to the public. It's the largest consumer electronics show on the face of the earth, but it's still not open to the public. Really, if you want to go to something that is open to the public, is obviously SEMA. That is kind of and there again, SEMA has become, for the automotive world, as well as the 12-volt, has become our CES. Most manufacturers have pulled out of CES, Rockford Kicker, stuff like that, JL. They don't even bother to go there anymore because their client base is at SEMA. So that's where they go. So if you want to make the pilgrimage to an awesome show, I would suggest looking into SEMA as your course of, and we'll be there. So I mean, you can still meet us. We'll be at the audio control booth.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, on with the news. So here we go. We have a couple stories for you, and since that kind of threw me off, let's just hop right into them. Laptop stills, here we go. Expect more 12-volt price hikes. Oh, I know a lot of you guys are like, oh God, really? I mean, haven't we had enough? But the reality is, no. And here's the reason why. The cost of raw goods and the containers to ship them overseas keeps rising. The price of a container has jumped from $14,000 to $20,000 in recent weeks. Before pandemic, the price of the container was only $3,000 to $5,000. So it went from $3,000 to $5,000 to $14,000 and is now going to $20,000 to just put it in a container. That's ridiculous, guys. Some suppliers have already raised their prices by 10 or 20% this year. Expected them to raise anywhere between 10 to 20% by the end of this year. It's just not going to get any better. The problem is the whole thing. We were just talking about this before the show went on. You know, there's this much goods to be had, and everyone has to draw from them. So not only now is it the fires and the drought and the freeze and whether it's made in what part of the world, it's just getting it from point A to point B costs an absorbent amount of money. It's just not the time. And as long as the supply is low and the demand is high, those prices are not going to go anywhere. So what that means is, as most you know, if you're used to making $3 to $5 and then all of a sudden you're making $20, you don't want to go back to making $3 to $5. The only way you can go back to $3 to $5 is if the person that was paying you $20 decides not to pay you $20 anymore. So it's going to be tough. This is definitely an interesting way of looking at it. At some point, once the draw, the consumers just wanting all these goods is going to have to go down. Like, we're going to have to crash, I guess, and then the prices will reset back to the normal price. Right. But man, dude, we're nowhere near out of this. It's ridiculous.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah, it's just scary. Yeah. I got to be honest with you. It's kind of scary. But with that being said, there is an interesting story that came out of this, which I don't know how to take this one, but we'll have fun with it anyways. And here we go. What's the best-selling deck in the pandemic? The fact that somebody had time to sit back and be like, you know what, I want to crunch these numbers. That tells you right there, he's got way too much time on his hands. So the first half of the pandemic, when supply chains were still up and running and doing what they needed to do, that would be the end of 2019 before the sky started to fall. This pretty much falls about how I thought it would, the 775, the 905, the 4400. This was right before Pioneer found, before the AKM fire. So everyone was like, ooh, it's going to be scary, but hey, at least we can still build products. And then that immediately, went to crap. A full year of 2020, the big mover was the ILXW 650. This is one of those situations where I think Alpine really was ahead of the pack and everyone. And the reason why is because technically, although they make several CD players, maybe 5, I'm sorry, when I say CD players, I mean radios. So we'll just call them decks. They make 5 decks. The reality is they make one deck. The ILXW 650 is the one deck. You had the 207s. They don't really make a lot of those. You had a couple of the navigation pieces. Yeah. They don't make a lot of those. And then, of course, you have the Halos, which, there again...
It was a hot thing for a little bit, but...
I don't think the Halos are gangbustering it out of the world right now. But even still, it's not like the number of Halos you're making compared to the number of regular double DINs. It's got to be just staggering. But the ILXW 650 is pretty much the radio they make. So being able to pour all your resources into one radio allow them to just have tons and tons and tons of these radios to sell. Yeah. I mean, tons of them. There was a point. How many were on back order? It was like 100,000. I mean, it was an insane number that was on back order. But it's one radio. It's kind of like the iPhone previously. Now there's several different versions of it. But, you know, when the iPhone first came out, there was one iPhone. So it was like, when it said it was the best-selling phone, it's like, it's one phone, whereas Android had, you know, 50 phones. So the ILX W650 definitely pulled that page out of Apple's book and was like, let's just concentrate on making one radio, and we'll just sell all of them. And they did.
And they did, yeah.
And as the numbers reflect here, the 706, in my mind, was something that Kenwood should have focused on heavily, and I think they did, because the 706 was kind of the competitor for the ILX W650. The main difference between the two was iData. The 706 had iData compatibility, so you got to keep your gauges and all that other fun stuff. Pioneer's 2550 NEX, that was just a holdover. I think they just had a lot of them in stock, and that was it, because shortly thereafter there was no Pioneer products to be had. Once the AKM fire happened, Pioneer just went belly up, and they're finally just shipping basic radios now. The Sony, there again, one radio, that's the one that they concentrated on because it was the better of all the radios. Good news there. The 7706 is basically the same as the 706, just the Exelon version. So it would make sense that those two radios took the spot. And there are definitely more non-Exelon dealers than Exelon dealers. So the 706 would have sold better. First half of 2021, there again, no surprise. The ILX W650 coming in for the win because that was it.
That was the radio.
Same story. The DMX 4407S, we're running out of radios at this point, guys. We're just running out of radios, and they're just selling what we can. There again, Sony, same thing as Alpine, focused on that one radio. And then Kenwood 9907XR. This was a move that Kenwood made, which in my mind was a really good. They came out with they concentrated on going the other way. They put a lot of their focus into their more expensive decks. So the big 10-inch and all the XR series, all the 9000 XR series, were still available, meaning we still were able to get a lot of those, not in quantity, but you know, they put as much focus in that because it was like you had a lot of inexpensive $300 radios, and that was it. And it was like they realized, hey, let's take that high-end market, since we make an awesome high-end radio, and still make radios. So, you know, for a lot of it, we could still get those radios and sell them. And of course, Boss coming in there in the top 5 spot, which is a direct result of the fact that like Pioneer didn't have radios. Like you see Pioneer's not on the list because at this point they have no radios. And you know, Alpine, Kenwood, and Sony are starting, like Kenwood had no, you know, there was nothing. There's no,
they barely
the cheap radios were going bye-bye. So that $249, $199, or just in general inexpensive CarPlay radio, because they're again Alpine. There's only so many Alpine dealers that can do it. So, you know, things like Boss and a lot of the other brands that fall into that realm, what we would call a second-tier product, is chopping the target. So I'm sure if they expanded this out to the top 10 radios, you would just see more and more of those filling in that gap. Whereas like, you know, something like a Pioneer, Kenwood, or an inexpensive Sony to be there, they're not there. So this was interesting. I love these things just to kind of get a barometer of whether what happens in our store is what's happening in the rest of the country, so to speak. And this is pretty on point. I mean, you know, because we sell Kenwood, Alpine, and Pioneer. We do have Sony, but we're not a big Sony dealer, and we don't carry Boss. But we have brought in some of the cheaper radios to fill in those buttons, to fill in those price points. So I mean, it's just like inventory's gotten hammered. We also carry JVC, who didn't make this list because they don't have a lot of product to deal into that. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, it's true. You know, in the end of the day, when you don't have radios like the W650, you start putting money into the Boss and the other manufacturers.
You know, even it's like Fang said, even a lot of dual electronics decks have been out of stock because those were some of the brands that got hit first.
And that's my point. Okay, so it's no Pioneer, it's no Kenwood, it's no Alpine, it's no Sony. So where do you go? You gotta sell something.
Grundig. like amp. Got the Grundig radios.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Us as a retailer, you still want to move product, right? Because you don't want to close the doors. So if you have the opportunity to have your hands in another brand, there you go.
You know, even something like a Boss at this point or a Dual was considered A-tier products, and we're commanding an A-tier price.
And we didn't want to. Like sometimes you don't want to, but you don't have a choice, right? Because
one thing
consumer is gonna come and they're gonna say, "I just want a radio. Oh, I saw this one online. I don't care. I just want a radio."
One of the things that's definitely going to come out of this pandemic is that some of these smaller tier companies that weren't doing tremendous business, a lot of retailers had to stop and look at them, and it opened the doors for a lot of these smaller companies to come in, or companies that you just never think of, and make money and get in the hands of people that they've trying to get. It's like, we're doing good, we got this. But then we don't have it. It's like, oh, what about those guys? They've been asking us, and you've tried them, and you're like, oh, this is nice stuff. I mean, I don't think we've had a product like that yet, where we've had to, change. Fortunately, Paul is a hoarder.
Well, that's the thing, because we stock so many.
I mean, he hoards so much stuff.
Like, we ordered a crazy amount of DACs when we order something. So, for us, that was not like a big deal. We still have a problem. It's like, oh my God,
So, and William brings up an interesting point where it's like the iPad directly to DSP. That's a great, that's a great idea if you're one of you guys in the comments, because you guys are the 1% of the industry that could do that. But most people, most consumers that are like, hey, it's time to upgrade to CarPlay, for one, they don't even realize there's a chip shortage. They don't understand there's been fires. They don't understand drought. When you say, dude, a container costs $20 grand to come in, they're just like, container of what? Yeah, apples? I don't know what you mean. It does, because they don't pay attention. It's not in their wheelhouse. So to those guys, it's just like, I want a CarPlay radio. What do you have? And it's like, so the majority of the populace out there have no idea, because they're not watching this news channel, of what reality is. And so it's just kind of like, But enough of the doom and gloom. Let's get on to some cool new products that have been introduced that some of you might be like, oh, wow. And the rest of you might be like, I don't need that. But it's okay, because, what the heck? Why not? First up, Metra, that's right, new Metra interface retains Ford F-150 and Fusion A to B amplifiers. And you're going, wait a minute, don't we have A to B adapters, Mobridge, Nav TV? Yes, we do. However, the one thing that is unique about those is, what if you want to go the other way? And I know what you're thinking, wait, what kind of show is this, the other way? Not everybody hates the way that the system sounds. So they like their Bang & Olufsen sound. They're like, yeah, no, this sounds great. I'm happy with this. I don't want to replace this. But I hate this radio. This radio is clunky. This radio doesn't do it for me. So they have the opposite feeling of what most people have. Most people go, no, the radio's fine. I like it. It does what it needs it to do. However, it sounds like crap. Some people, the opposite way. So Metra has come out with an adapter to allow you to retain the factory amplifier, but change the radio. Now, this is important, because we need to get this piece out now, because, there again, we realize that most people aren't going to run out there and change their factory Ford radios right this minute. However, with the floating screens becoming as popular as they are, we know that this is going to happen very shortly. We've already taken out some of the 2020s, some of the 2019s radios to put in an MFT1 kit and do the whole conversion. So we know some guys, those radios aren't going to last. Once that 3-year warranty hits and that radio goes kapooey, meaning, so this product needs to come out in the market, because that factory radio is going to start dying here. And we need to have had this in the market for at least 2 to 3 years, so that it can be validated, it can get to Rev 1, Rev 2, Rev 3, because we don't want this to come out 2 years from now, and it's like first to market, which, Metra, God bless their soul, they're first to market on most stuff. But it needs to be validated, it needs to get, it needs to get in the hands of people, and anytime someone comes in and says, hey, I want to do something, you always want an answer for it. I mean, we all know that. So I'm pretty excited that Metra's come out with this piece. We'll just see how it goes. And, you know, there again, if you have one of, like a Fusion, I could see in a Fusion where you want to take that factory radio out more so than in the F-150. Yeah. But
you never know.
The day is going to come where it's like, I want to get rid of my F-150 radio, and I don't want to deal with a new one. I like the way it sounds.
And if you have any car that you want to change your radio or your amplifier, just go to the Metra, accessinterfaces.com, so you can have an update of the vehicle that you have, see if it's compatible.
Or just go to metraonline.com, type in your make, model, and year, and of course it'll take you to the access parts that you need for your car.
Yeah.
As fun as that is, we have another company that is also starting to come out with some more products, which is super exciting. And let's take a look at those. Ooh, oh, we just did a picture of ourselves.
Nice, I like that.
That was weird.
That was for people.
That was pretty cool. So let's change this to there. And actually, I don't want to start with that one. My bad. Let's start with this one. So this is the the DVW1. This is a T-harness for Volkswagen if you have the non-premium system and you would like to do a amplifier install. This will work with DSR1 or AR, and it's designed, or whatever you want it to work with for that matter, if you just need a T-harness. Idata has been slowly but surely coming out with these. Anytime they make a harness where they make an A version of it, then sometimes they'll come out with a D version of it, which is for the base model versions of those cars, if in fact you just need a T-harness to plug into the back of the radio. A lot of you guys want these T-harnesses, myself included. I wish they'd come out with one for Honda. But this will allow you to interface into those German vehicles that use that harness and have a simple T-harness that has the ability to do high level in, low, and speaker level out. Obviously, it'll plug directly into a DSR1. It'll plug into an AR so that if you have any AR compatible amplifiers that will take high level in, it'll easily pop right into that. Suggested retail price of the harness is, as always, $40. This is cool, and I really hope they expand more on the D line. Time will tell. There's no doubt about it. And
I'm excited. I'm excited that they are coming out with new
so
D harnesses.
Just to recap, if for those who don't know, if you have a Nissan, they have one for Nissan. They have one for Toyota, which we used the other day, which was kind of nice. And I was like, oh, I need a T harness, and I was like, wait a minute, the DTO whatever is I think it's a DTO1.
Now keep in mind,
it's a DTO1. I grabbed the DTO1 and I was like, awesome.
Now keep in mind, they still working on new cars. I know you guys been asking, oh, I'm looking for these T-harness, can't find it anywhere. It takes time, research, and testing, so...
Well, at least now we have one more to add. Yeah. Volkswagen is definitely one of those that, you know, it's kind of nice to have. Let's move on to this. Now, this is one of those, like, specialty pieces that not everyone is going to need, but a lot of people might need. These are waterproof enclosures for the Maestro RR and the steering wheel controlled, sold separately. This is kind of something that people have been asking for, which I think is funny that they haven't just done this yet or conformal coded the board. But, you know, vehicles like Jeeps that are going to be going bloop, 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 or whatever you have for that matter, Harley Davidsons. Now they make a waterproof box that will surround the RR or the SW to keep them from getting destroyed. So that's kind of a cool feature. You know, this is one of those things where people have asked for it and they've listened, so that's always nice. This one is nice. Ooh, this is a new JL kit for the Gladiator or the
Wrangler.
Thank you. As you can see here, it allows you to put a radio up in the dash. That way you don't have to go with, let's say, a High 10 or an Alpine kit. There are a few caveats to it, though. It does have to be a short chassis radio. It cannot be a deep radio. There's no room behind it. And the shorter the chassis radio, the better. I believe they do have a list of radios. Did they say they had a list of compatible radios on their site? Anyways, you need a short chassis radio or something with just a screen. You cannot put a full-size double DIN in there.
No.
And it does not retain the factory backup camera. So if you are hoping to do that, you can still get the Metra factory backup camera replacement that they offer, which is pretty reasonable priced. But right now, they've come out with the plastics and the wiring harness. The only thing you need to add to this is an RR and RR2. I would strongly recommend adding an RR2 to this.
That's sold separately.
That is sold separately. But you get so let's say you take like a 7706 or a 706, which is a short chassis radio, this dash kit, an RR2. Now I can use the MPOs, Maestro Programmable Outputs, to control lights and all those other cool things that we put on our Jeeps. So this just opens the door for more options for Jeeps in JLs, the JL Jeep, and of course the Gladiator. So and it's obviously pretty reasonable. I mean, it's $140, which is like, wow. Next up we have the Hyundai kits. So these are the Hyundai T-harnesses. They've previously introduced the new Maestro radio replacements for the Hyundai. One of the things that Idata is trying to do is when they introduce an RR, they want to introduce an AR compatible product. So since the RR version was recently released within, let's say, the last month or so, here are all the AR harnesses. They're, again, just like the Volkswagen. These are T harnesses to add in a DSR1 or an AR compatible product. These amplifier replacement harnesses cover select Hyundais and Kias vehicles with factory amplifiers and premium audio systems such as Harman Kardon. They are compatible with AR as well as Maestro DSR1, and they upgrade your factory amplifier and audio systems fast and easy while enhancing the sound quality in your vehicle in most applications. These harnesses will require the SPDIF sold separately, and a digital signal processor does not have, if the digital signal processor does not have a dedicated SPDIF input. So what this is allowing you to do is, if you have that factory Harman Kardon system in your Hyundai or Kia, boom, now you can replace that factory amplifier and keep your radio. And the SPDIF piece that they were referring to is this guy right here. This is the ASPDIF. It's a ASPDIF adapter, converts the factory radio SPDIF output to analog or TouchLink output signal needed, and replacing the factory amplifier. So this actually goes both ways. So it's kind of a cool piece. The one thing too that's unique about this piece is that when you have a Kia or Hyundai with the digital amplifier, both Metra and PAC make adapters, which apparently aren't of the best quality. The nice thing about it is this will interface with all of them. So you can buy this one ASPDIF adapter and backwards compatible it into a PAC as well as the other way. So you're kind of cool there.
And it's pre-wired to plug into the Maestro. That's cool.
Yeah, it's nice. Pretty neat.
Yeah.
But there we go. That's it. That takes us to the end of the news. We made it through. Wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I just want to say real quick. Hang on.
Let's do this.
So for KnowledgeFest, we as a Spanish community, Ricardo over there, Monster by Rangel in Mexico City, and Roberto Estrada, he's one of the reps in Mexico. We're going to do a class on Spanish.
In Spanish. Not on Spanish. You're not going to talk about
Spanish.
In
Spanish, about audio control, hands-on. That's going to be cool. So if you are in the industry and you are in Spanish community,
and you're going to Dallas KnowledgeFest,
come and hang out with us at KnowledgeFest Dallas, man.
It's going to be, so one of the things at KnowledgeFest is that they try to do is they'll try to get like one manufacturer a night to do a night class, and you guys got the Saturday class, so that'll be pretty fun. There's a Friday class. There isn't obviously a Sunday class. There's usually a Thursday class too. Yeah. And bummer, I know how I know. It's a trade show, guys. Don't get too excited. You're not going to miss out on much. No. But you are. It's okay. But don't worry. We'll be filming the whole thing, and we'll bring it to you. Correcting Nando is rude. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Actually pretty good.
It's you don't learn that way, guys. He corrects me all the time. It's okay. You guys just don't get to see it because it's not on camera. But it doesn't matter. It's okay.
Other than that, that's it.
That's it. That's what we got. this has been the news, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're super excited. We're 4 weeks out from KnowledgeFest. Actually, 3 weeks in a day.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of content. Of course, if you guys are watching the regular channel, 5-star channel, you've got to see some really great interviews. Fernando knocked it out of the park on the Lucas lighting and the audio mobile. Automobile.
Yeah, automobile. See, I get confused, man.
No, it's okay. Honestly, I was calling it audio. You know, he corrected you though. So
yeah, I know.
It's okay. Anyways, check those out. Today, of course, is the MECP video. So if anyone is interested in doing MECP, it doesn't matter whether you're an industry guy or just a fan of car audio and want to learn more. Head over there, watch the video, subscribe, download it, get your MECP, get your knowledge on. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then we have a couple more next week. But then, so just to fill you guys in, there's going to be a lot more cars at KnowledgeFest in Dallas.
Yes.
So Joey Knapp was the name I was trying to think of yesterday.
That is right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Morel will have a car in the booth, so we'll get to take a look at that. Every car we're going to try because we know you guys love the car videos, and I love doing the car videos. They're so much fun. So we'll definitely have a good time getting that going on. But that's it for now, guys. We'll talk about it more as time goes on. Oh, before we forget, Friday, coming up Friday, for those of you that are interested in the German Maestro story, we will have them in-house, and we will get to the bottom of why German Maestro is the previous MB Quartz manufacturer.
This Friday
coming up. Not today. Next.
Did we decide on what platform it's going to be?
It's going to be on YouTube.
Okay. So, there you go. YouTube.
So, for those of you that are wanting to know more or just something fun to do on Friday night, we will, of course, talk about it more. But this Friday night will be German Maestro in the house. We'll talk to them. We'll get to the bottom of it. And, of course, I think we're probably going to have them on again because I think we're going to be talking about too much about history. But we'll see what we can do, guys. We got them for an hour. We're going to have a bunch of time. Rulers are discontinued? No, rulers aren't discontinued. You can get the wire rulers. No.
No.
Head over to mobilesolutions.com. Pick them up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just sent him 100 of them. So, no.
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge, anyways. He hasn't sent me an email. I mean, and if he does, we'll just sell them on our site. So it's not a big deal. All right, guys. You have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Fade to black.